Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Rudyard Kipling, an essay by George Orwell. Kipling was a popular English writer and his popularity was essentially middle class. In the average middle class family before the war, especially the Anglo-Indian families, he had a prestige that is not even approached by any writer of today. This is what George Orwell tells about him. He says, Kipling was a sort of household god with whom one grew up and whom one took for granted whether one liked him or not. For Orwell's own part, he worshipped Kipling at 13, loathed him at 17, enjoyed him at 20, despised him at 25, and then again admired him. The one thing that was never possible, if one had read him at all, was to forget him. His stories, The Strange Ride, Drums of the Fore and Aft, and The Mark of the Beast, are about as good and exceedingly well told. For the vulgarity of his prose style is only a surface fault. In the less obvious qualities of construction economy, he is supreme. It is, after all, much easier to write inoffensive prose than to tell a good story. And his verse, though it is almost a byword for badness, has the same peculiarity, memorable quality, and he gives an example of I have lost Britain, I have lost Gaul, I have lost Rome, and worst of all, I have lost Lalage. Maybe only a jingle, and the road to Mandalay may be something worse than a jingle. But they remind one that it needs a streak of genius even to become a byword. What is much more distasteful in Kipling, says Orwell, is than sentimental plots or vulgar tricks of style is the imperialism to which he chose to lend his genius. The imperialism of the 80s and 90s was sentimental, ignorant and dangerous, but it was not entirely despicable. The picture then called up by the word empire was a picture of overworked officials and frontier skirmishes, not of Lord Beaverbrook and Australian butter. It was still possible to be an imperialist and a gentleman, and of Kipling's personal decency there can be no doubt. It is worth remembering that he was the most widely popular English writer of Orwell's time, and yet that no one perhaps so consistently refrained from making a vulgar show of his personality. If he had never come under imperialist influences, and if he had developed into a writer of music hall songs, he would have been a better and more lovable writer. In the role he actually chose, one was bound to think of him after one had grown up as a kind of enemy, a man of alien and perverted genius. But now that he is dead, if Orwell could offer some kind of tribute, a salute of guns, if such a thing was available to the storyteller who was so important to his childhood. Thus, it was Orwell, the anti-imperialist and radical socialist who, despite strongly disapproving of both Kipling's allegedly jingo imperialism and his moral insensitiveness, acknowledged that Kipling behaved like a gentleman throughout his life and by creating memorable catchphrases of general use had a streak of genius. Orwell gives a complex picture of Kipling's work and personality. Kipling's many-sided creativity defies taxonomic straitjackets imposed by ideology or a particular literary taste. And that was why Orwell felt compelled to acknowledge, no matter how repulsive Kipling's imperialistic views were, that Kipling's artistry endures and continuously surprises us. Kipling certainly deserves Orwell's praise of Kipling as an imperialist, a gentleman, and a great artist. Orwell, who unlike many of Kipling's most dismissive critics, had experienced military action in the Spanish Civil War and had known such clubs as a member of the Burma Imperial Police and had read Kipling's works, notes that while furiously right-wing, Kipling was not as uncritical of authority and militarism as is sometimes assumed. While uploading the status quo and the glory of imperialist conquest, he also criticized it realistically. Orwell observes about enjoyment of the poems of Kipling, something which can be applied to other famous writers who are also political and aesthetically indefensible and as popular as he once was. And here ends the summary. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.